The first term of President Trump's presidency sent shockwaves through the global trading system. His approach to international trade was nothing short of revolutionary, shaking the very foundations of established economic relationships. His aggressive trade policies, particularly the tariffs imposed on Chinese goods, created uncertainty and disruption across Asia. These tariffs were part of a broader strategy to renegotiate trade deals and address what he perceived as unfair trade practices. Many Asian economies deeply integrated into global supply chains felt the immediate impact. Factories that once thrived on the steady flow of goods to the United States found themselves grappling with new challenges. The ripple effects were felt far and wide, from small businesses to large multinational corporations. Exports declined and growth slowed in several countries. The economic slowdown was not just a temporary hiccup, but a significant shift that required immediate attention from policymakers and business leaders alike. The trade war also exposed the vulnerabilities of relying heavily on a single market like the United States. Countries that had built their economic strategies around U.S. demand found themselves in a precarious position, needing to quickly adapt to the new reality. Asian nations began to reassess their economic strategies. High-level meetings and conferences were convened to discuss the way forward. The focus shifted towards building more resilient and diversified economic frameworks. Diversification and regional integration emerged as key priorities. Initiatives like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, gained momentum, aiming to reduce dependency on any single market and foster stronger intra-regional trade. However, the damage was done. The economic landscape had been altered, and the scars of the trade war were visible in the form of reduced growth rates and strained international relationships. The trade war left scars on the global economy. The interconnected nature of modern economies meant that the impact was not confined to the US and China, but was felt globally, affecting markets and industries worldwide. It undermined the rules-based trading order that had underpinned decades of growth and prosperity. The World Trade Organization, WTO, and other international bodies found themselves challenged as the principles they stood for were questioned. The experience of Trump's first term serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy. No country operates in isolation, and the policies of one nation can have far-reaching consequences for others. It also highlights the potential for economic conflict to spill over into geopolitical tensions. The trade war was not just an economic battle, but also a geopolitical struggle, influencing diplomatic relations and strategic alliances across the globe.
President Trump's second term promises a continuation of his America First approach to trade. This approach, which has been a cornerstone of his administration, emphasizes prioritizing American interests in global trade agreements and negotiations. While the specific contours of his policies remain unclear, several trends are emerging. Analysts are closely watching for signs of how these policies might evolve, especially in light of the global economic shifts caused by the pandemic. Trump has signaled his intention to double down on his confrontational stance with China. This includes not only maintaining existing tariffs, but potentially introducing new ones to further pressure Beijing. He views China's economic rise as a threat to American economic dominance. This perspective has driven much of his trade policy, aiming to curb China's influence in global markets. Tariffs, technology restrictions, and investment screening are likely to remain key tools in his arsenal. These measures are designed to protect American industries and prevent the transfer of critical technologies to China. Beyond China, Trump has also expressed his displeasure with trade deficits with other Asian partners, including Japan and South Korea. He believes these deficits are unfair and detrimental to the American economy. He may seek to renegotiate existing trade deals or impose new tariffs on goods from these countries. This could lead to significant changes in how the U.S. engages with its Asian trading partners. The overall objective is clear: to reduce America's trade deficit and bring back manufacturing jobs to the United States. This aligns with his broader goal of revitalizing the American manufacturing sector and boosting domestic employment. However, the effectiveness of this approach remains debatable. Critics argue that these policies could lead to trade wars, which might harm the global economy and strain international relations. Economists argue that tariffs ultimately harm American consumers and businesses by raising prices and disrupting supply chains. They caution that while the intent is to protect American jobs, the reality may be more complex. with potential negative repercussions for the broader economy. As Trump's second term unfolds, the world will be watching closely to see how his trade policies evolve and what impact they will have on both the American and global economies. The stakes are high, and the outcomes uncertain, making this a critical area of focus for policymakers and businesses alike. Ultimately, the success of Trump's trade agenda will depend on a delicate balance between protecting American interests and maintaining healthy international trade relationships. The coming years will reveal whether this approach can achieve its ambitious goals without causing unintended economic fallout.
Asian countries are acutely aware of the potential for renewed trade tensions under a second Trump administration. They have learned valuable lessons from the first trade war. Governments and businesses are actively preparing for a range of scenarios. One key strategy is diversification. Asian nations are seeking to reduce their reliance on the U.S. market by forging new trade partnerships. Agreements like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, and the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, are seen as crucial steps in this direction. Another priority is bolstering domestic demand. By strengthening social safety nets and boosting consumer spending, Asian economies can reduce their vulnerability to external shocks. Investing in infrastructure, education, and technology is also crucial for enhancing competitiveness and attracting foreign investment.
Section 4. The Dragon's Grip, China's Dominance and the Quest for Alternatives. China's economic rise has been nothing short of remarkable. Over the past few decades, it has transformed from a largely agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. It is now the world's second-largest economy and a major player in global trade. The sheer scale of its economic activities has made it an indispensable part of the global supply chain. However, China's growing economic clout has also generated anxieties. Many countries and businesses are increasingly wary of becoming too dependent on a single nation for critical goods and services. Its dominance in certain industries, such as manufacturing and technology, has raised concerns about overdependence and potential disruptions. The concentration of production in China means that any economic or political instability could have far-reaching consequences. The trade war with the United States has further amplified these worries. Tariffs and trade barriers have disrupted supply chains and increased costs for businesses and consumers alike. As a result, there is a growing movement to diversify supply chains away from China. Companies are exploring alternative manufacturing hubs to reduce their exposure to geopolitical risks. This trend, often referred to as China Plus One, involves businesses establishing a presence in other Asian countries to mitigate risks. Nations like Vietnam, India, and Thailand are emerging as attractive alternatives due to their lower labor costs and improving infrastructure. However, replicating China's vast manufacturing capacity and intricate supply networks will be a daunting task. China's ecosystem of suppliers, skilled labor, and efficient logistics is unparalleled. It will require significant investments in infrastructure, skills development, and regulatory reforms. Countries looking to attract manufacturing must build robust industrial parks, enhance their transportation networks, and ensure a steady supply of skilled workers. Additionally, governments will need to create favorable business environments through policy reforms and trade agreements. Only then can they hope to compete with China's established dominance. The quest for alternatives is not just about reducing dependence on China, it's about creating a more resilient and diversified global economy. By spreading production across multiple regions, businesses can better withstand shocks and ensure a steady flow of goods. Ultimately, the goal is to build a global trade network that is both efficient and adaptable, capable of thriving in an ever-changing economic landscape.
Section 5. Shifting Tides, Southeast Asia's Prospects and Challenges. Southeast Asia stands to gain from the ongoing trade tensions. Countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, and Thailand are well positioned to attract foreign investment seeking to diversify away from China. Their lower labor costs, growing consumer markets, and strategic location make them attractive alternatives. However, these countries also face significant challenges. Infrastructure bottlenecks, Bureaucratic hurdles and skill shortages need to be addressed to fully capitalize on the opportunities. Moreover, excessive reliance on foreign investment could lead to economic vulnerabilities. Balancing foreign investment with domestic economic development will be crucial for sustainable growth. Southeast Asian nations need to focus on building resilient and diversified economies that are less susceptible to external shocks.
Section 6. The Tariff Time Bomb Predictions and Potential Fallout. Predicting the exact timeline and magnitude of tariffs under a second Trump administration is difficult. However, it is clear that tariffs are likely to remain a key tool in Trump's trade toolbox. The administration has shown a willingness to use tariffs as leverage in negotiations. The impact of these tariffs will be felt across the global economy. Higher prices for consumers, disruptions to supply chains, and reduced business investment are all likely consequences. The International Monetary Fund has warned that a full-blown trade war could shave off as much as 0.8% from global GDP. The uncertainty surrounding trade policy is already weighing on business confidence and investment decisions. A prolonged trade war could have long-term consequences for global economic growth and stability.
Section 7. Navigating the Storm. Asia's Economic Future in the Balance. Asia faces a challenging economic landscape under a second Trump administration. The threat of renewed trade tensions looms large. However, Asian economies have demonstrated resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. By embracing diversification, strengthening regional cooperation, and pursuing structural reforms, they can mitigate the risks and seize the opportunities presented by the changing global trade order. The future of Asia's economy will depend on its ability to navigate the uncertainties of the Trump era and forge a path towards sustainable and inclusive growth.